Hello, and thanks for joining me. My name is Julie. This is Stamp with Julie Baum. Today, I am bringing you another Stamp Club project from June of 2026. There were three projects total, one a small summertime treat, and then two cards. This is the second of the two cards. Make sure you look for those other video tutorials. I think you're going to want to watch all three and hopefully copy my projects. So we are going to make kind of a fun fold card right now, and we are using this beautiful designer series paper. And this time I am pulling in Berry Burst, which is in the paper. And we are using Mossy Meadow. Now I'm mentioning that because there's also the beautiful peaceful pine color of green in these designer series papers. We used peaceful pine on a different project for a club. And so we went to Mossy Meadow and we're using some old olive on today's card. All of those beautiful greens are used inside the designer series paper. So you just can't go wrong when you start mixing and matching. The other green, and we're going to use it, is soft sea foam, and you're going to see how beautiful that is. So let's talk about our pieces that we're going to need, and then we're going to do our scoring and die cutting. So let me move these out of the way. Let's talk about this piece first. This is our base. So I'm using Mossy Meadow. This piece is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. But wait, before you do anything, typically we would score this down the middle and fold our card to make a card base. Now you can see, and I purposely left this in the mix today, you can see that I started to do that and I started scoring this at 4.25. And then I remembered, wait, we're doing something different with this card base, not folding it down the middle. So I stopped. I did not ruin this piece of cardstock. You can see that I'm still going to be able to use it, but I'm hoping that I catch you before you start putting this score line at 4.25. We're not going to do that. All right. So we have our Mossy Meadow cardstock here on our Simply Scored, and we are going to score at the 2-inch mark at 3 1/8. I know that you see a little mark there, but we're ignoring that one. That's going to get covered up. We're not going to know about my mistake. So we're not putting a score there. This is 5 3/8, and then 6.5. Those are the 4 score lines that you're going to make for our card today. All right, let's move this out of the way and talk about the remaining pieces. We've got several pieces of designer series paper, and these all just come together so nicely as we're going to put this card together. All right, I have 3 different prints from Moonlit Flora. So this one, even though it looks similar to this is a different print. So I've got that piece. Let's talk about the size. This piece is 2 by 5.25 inches. Then my second print, I've got 2 of those, and those are 1 3/4 inches by 5.25 inches. And my last 2 pieces of designer series paper are 1 inch by 5.25. And you can see how those are going to go onto our card base like so. In fact, we can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to slide these out of the way. I'm going to bring in my bone folder and do my folding. Now, you've got this wide section here in the middle. The fold on each side of that wide section goes back. So we're going to fold that one back, and we're going to fold this one back. All right, then this fold here and this one here are going to fold like a fan fold or an accordion. So we're going to fold that one and that one. And remember, we're ignoring this mark. It's going to get covered up in a minute and you'll never know it existed. All right. So this is how the card kind of unfolds. It fits in the envelope when it's nice and folded tightly like this. But once the card comes out of the envelope and is sitting upright, it kind of stretches its little wings out. Okay, let's put this middle piece here so we can quit talking about my scoring mistake. So with my liquid glue, just going to attach this piece right to that center section. And it's got a little bit of border, Mossy Meadow border all the way around it. And that looks nice. All right, our next two, I'm going to put these outside two on next, and then we'll do the berry burst pattern last. All right, and I don't think this really has a direction. It's kind of going every direction. If you see it differently, then make sure you pay attention when you glue it onto your card base. And this next one. Oh, I need to slide that one over a little bit. This is why we like liquid glue. We're able to reposition if we need to. There, that's a little better. All right, now our final two pieces, this cute little berry burst print. That's the other side. It's so hard sometimes when you really, really like both sides of the paper. All right, strip number 4 is in place. And our last one. All right, our background is completely set. Just beautiful. Looks really nice. You can see the berry burst panels kind of get hidden and then reveal themselves. Okay, you're going to want to take a scrap of soft seafoam. Let me give you an idea of the size. So I started with 4¼ by 2½, 2½ by 4¼ and that gave me enough space to put my arch and die cut that out of there. Then I have a white scrap that I started with that is 2½ also by 3¾ and that smaller arch was able to fit on that scrap and cut out my small white arch. I started with a piece of old olive, a scrap 1½ by 2¾ inches, and that was just barely big enough to get this little fern die cut out of that. And this piece is Mossy Meadow, 1 inch by 2¾ inches, and that gave me enough space to do this little frond that has the little curl to it. So cute. Okay, so let's pop that out and see if there's any little elements in here that need to be poked through. There is a couple. There are a couple. Sometimes my mouth is moving faster than my brain. All right, so there's some die cuts that are prepared. Then I had a scrap of berry burst. Now I got a lot cut out of this little scrap, as you can see. There's 2 different dies that we're using. So this die that looks like that was used, And we're going to pop those out, and I'll show you how we're going to create our flower with those. And then there's this teeny, 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 tiny little die, and it cuts out the teeniest little flowers. You can see them here. I put them against the white cardstock just so you can see them so they don't get lost. And those are super cute, but they are teeny. Okay, so when we pop these little die cuts out of the die, we're going to get a couple that kind of look like the same shape, and then some different ones. So let's see here. All right, there's the die. These are the things that popped out of there. So there's two that are a little bit larger. They kind of look like little bow ties, don't you think? And then there are two that are kind of smaller. And then there's this one, which is kind of like a little scoop shape. And there's this one, which I think this direction is sort of like a mustache, but it can be flipped up this way. And these two can be combined to make a flower. We are not using that in today's card, so I'm just going to move that out of the way. You're welcome to play with it on your own. You only need to use 2 out of the 4 to build your flower. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me see if I have my silicone mat here. So for this one, I will use the larger 2 because I have a different one made with the smaller, and I can show you both. So I'm going to move these out of the way. This is now trash. That's been die cut a couple times. All right, so what you do is you're going to layer these one on top of the other, crisscross, like so, to create your flower. So what I'm going to do is just take a dab of glue, and it doesn't matter if you put this one on the bottom and that one on the top or vice versa. It's very forgiving. It's kind of a little bit of a freestyle flower. So we've got one going that way, one crisscrossing it, and I'll give that a second to seal to its little partner. All right, so there's that one. This is the size. If we had used these smaller, I don't know if you're able to see. If we had used these smaller ones, we would have ended up with that size flower. So you can see there's kind of a large and a little bit smaller one. All right, so we've got our flower, and we are ready to put the card together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is my stamping, and we're going to do all the stamping on this white piece. I'm going to start with Berry Burst. And I absolutely love this stamp, but it can be challenging to figure out what in the world to do with it. So let me just show you how, without any creative process at all, just ink and stamp it, you can get this cute little background. And that's exactly what we had in mind, like so. And then with Mossy Meadow ink, stamp the words. And this is barely going to fit across your arch. So you do want to eyeball it and line it up as centered as you can. I do have one finished card sample where it's slightly off. It's not so bad that I would not use the card, but it is a little bit too far to the left. So I'm going to see if I could do better on this one. There we go. Nice and centered. It just barely fits right inside those little perforated lines that go around the arch. Okay, let's glue our elements on. I'm going to start with this piece, putting a little bit of glue, just some tiny dabs, on several of these leaves, and then a little bit on the center up here where I've got some room. And this is just going to lie down at an angle like so. Then we'll take this one. The leaves are a little bit larger, so it's not too hard to put dabs on these. And this one is going to kind of crisscross it and lean to the left. Look at how cute that little striped pattern is behind our leaves. I think it looks really nice. This needs a little more glue. He didn't want to stick. Probably because I'm going over that one and it's a little lumpy. All right, then we'll grab that cute little flower that we made. I'm going to pick mine up with tweezers because it's kind of small. Put my glue in the middle and let's lay it down here. And then those teensy tiny baby flowers, let's bring those in. You may want to use your tweezers for these as well because they are tiny. You could even skip them. If this is not worth it to you, just skip these little ones. The card would look still very nice without, but I'm going to go for it. So I've got a little bit of glue there. I'm going to go here. And feel like I'm playing Operation. A little bit of glue, and let's put that one over here. And then we'll take this little scooped kind of tulip shaped one. And add it right over here. Like I said, if those tiny pieces are just aggravating to you, just skip them. But I am happy to be able to show them to you, and you can see how cute they are. Cute, tiny, delicate. There we go. Let's take this whole thing and attach it to our soft seafoam arch that we die cut before. And now we've created the whole focal point of our card. All right, once we have this on to our card, we're going to put a little gem right here, put a rhinestone, and that's going to make the center of that pop. And then for the back of the card, I have a white piece that I'm going to put as a panel here. Otherwise, this is kind of dark and it might be, unless you're just going to sign your name, that might be fine with a black ballpoint pen or something. But if you want to write any kind of a message, I feel like it needs a white panel. So we're going to do that. And I have pre-cut that piece. It is 2 inches by 5 1/4. And for fun, let's put a little butterfly on it with our Berry Burst ink. Because it's so cute. And we'll get this piece attached to the back of the card. Make sure that it is going the right direction. All right, and it's up to you. You could make this white piece a teeny bit bigger if you wanted. Like I said, mine is 2 by 5 1/4. You could probably go 2 1/4. Well, if it was 5 1/2, it's going to go top to bottom. So let's stick with this. I was trying to think if you needed a little extra space, you could make it a teeny bit wider. Okay, back to the front of our card. We're going to add this piece right here in the middle. It's the star, and let's get it attached. It fits just perfectly in the space from the right side to the left side. So it's not going to hang off the edge at all. I think I'll pull it down a little like so. So I don't have to worry about this edge sticking since I put the glue on there because it's only attaching itself to that center. You'd have to be really sloppy with your glue if it oozed out and got onto these other panels. So don't be sloppy with your glue. Just put it in a precise little area, and there we have it. Oh my goodness. Needs our rhinestone. Let's grab that next. Rhinestone gems are the item to always have on hand. If you don't have quite another specialty embellishment that matches your project, a rhinestone will always work. So I try to never run out of the rhinestone gems. That tiny little sparkle really, really sets that off. I think that it is perfect. Okay, my friends, there we have our cute little fun fold. As I mentioned, it will fit into an envelope like this. And then once it's out, it can sit up on a desk like so. And we have our cute little butterfly on the back. And there you have it, my friends. This was so much fun to make, and I'll tell you that the ladies at Stamp Club had a blast making this and the other two projects. So much fun. And as always, it's my pleasure to share these projects with you. I would love to hear from you. And if you would like some helpful information or links to many different things, I provide those below this video in the drop down box. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, happy stamping.